Federal court in Boston to the nation's highest court in Washington. We are expecting a lot more drama in the coming weeks. Same-sex marriage and Obamacare rulings right around the corner. In one way or another, millions will be affected. Then there's immigration, where the president's executive action could definitely go to the Supreme Court as well. These cases show a Roberts court that is comfortable entering divisive political debates. And our next guest's new book, Injustices, argues that the court uses its power often the wrong way, failing the most vulnerable Americans. Here with us is the author, Millhiser, and he is clerked in the U.S. Appeals Court system. Good day to you.
It's good to be here. Thank you so much.
Very interesting, some provocative ideas you have. Let me start by pushing back directly at part of your premise. The court has a lot of problems, sure. But students of history would say the Supreme Court, often more than any other political branch, does stick up for the vulnerable some of the time. What do you say to that?
Well, let's take what is probably considered the greatest Supreme Court case ever decided, Brown v. Board of Education. The original vote in Brown was, there were 3 justices who voted to uphold segregation and 2 who were on the fence. One of the justices who voted to end public school segregation was Justice Hugo Black, who was a former member of the Ku Klux Klan. You never would have guessed, based on his bio, that in his later life he would come to be a supporter of civil rights. And I list in the book all of these coincidences that had to happen. Of start segregation as justice left after a year. The Chief Justice died and was replaced by Earl Warren, and President Eisenhower later said that appointing Earl Warren was the biggest damn fool mistake he ever made as president. So the court throughout history, as I lay out in the book, has performed very badly. And even that one glorious case that we all look to as the highlight of the court acting well, it was through a series of historic accidents that we got that decision.
Ian, let's talk about the current court. It seems like an era of extreme partisanship, like a third branch of Congress. Do you think the judges are putting their partisan views ahead of the law?
I mean, it's a very good question. I mean, certainly some of them are. The impetus for this book was that I worked very hard on NFIB, the first case trying to kill the Affordable Care Act. And, and I discuss in the book what life was like before we had Obamacare. I discuss a woman who was raped, and the insurance company said her rape was a pre-existing condition. I discuss a family in there. The husband was in a motorcycle accident, the woman had a heart condition, and they had enough money to pay for his treatment or her pills. So, no human being should have to make that choice, but certainly no American should have to make that choice. And the fact that there were justices of the Supreme Court who were willing to send us back to the world, I mean, we almost lost that case, that should wound your soul.
Well, wow. And Ian, you have some legal experts, court watchers that are thinking that the Supreme Court will legalize same-sex marriage in the coming months. But as you talk about, if you look at the past, most recently, Obamacare, child labor, voting rights, civil rights, this would make the case that they would be moving in a different direction.
It would, yeah. No, there have been outlier cases, and, this would be one of those outlier cases where the court has done some good. Now, that said, let's look at the court's record on gay rights. I mean, I discuss in the book there was a federal hiring ban for many years on hiring any person who was gay. And when early gay rights group challenged that ban, the federal government's response was, well, we're not going to let you, we're not going to hire you because people are too revolted by gay people. That was the federal government's response. The courts did nothing about that for decades.
Wow.
When the first major Supreme Court case, when the first major gay rights case reached the Supreme Court, they basically ignored it. They shuffled it off in the most dismissive way possible. And then in the 1980s, they said it could be illegal for gay people to even have sex.
Well,
and
Ian,
go ahead.
Just another point that I think definitely supports your argument here, that the Supreme Court comforts the already comfortable, is the way that they've treated corporations, particularly with the decision in Citizens United.
Absolutely. And I mean, if you read that opinion, that is a shocking opinion. Yeah. What the court had said before Citizens United is campaign finance laws are allowed to fight corruption. The holding of Citizens United is I can write $1 billion check to a super PAC, and so long as that money isn't actually touched by the candidate or his campaign, somehow that candidate's not going to be corrupted by that donation.
Well, you know what they say about your book? Read it in the morning, because it'll make you angry. Don't want to read it right before bed. Ian Millhiser, thanks so much.
Thanks so much for having me.